real treat. I'm bringing up a woman who does exquisitely crafted stories. They are wonderful, and she is wonderful. Miss Libbe HaLevy.
Last Sunday, I walked with my dog to a little snowmelt creek that runs through the nearby mountains. Dealing as I do with nuclear issues, I need to get out in nature to remind me of what I'm fighting to protect. This small stretch of gently rushing water serves as an almost sacred getaway. It certainly doesn't feel like Los Angeles. As I settled myself down on the bank to think, there it was, about 20 feet away. A slender bird of purest white, elongated beak and featherless, stilt-like legs, maybe 1.5 feet tall. It stood in the middle of the stream, staring at me and my dog, trying to ascertain the danger. I called my dog back before any drama could ensue. With the two of us at a safe distance, the bird resumed its slow strut back and forth in the water, occasionally ducking its head to secure a tasty morsel, then fluffing its feathers in satisfaction. I watched with a deep sense of joy. Here was nature as nature intended, a wild creature feeding itself, keeping itself safe, yet not running away from another species when it sensed no harm intended. I'm unfamiliar with California fauna, so I wondered what kind of bird it was. Egret? No, they belong in Florida swamps. Stork? Not exactly, but definitely stork-like. I continued to search my mental database, but not too strenuously. The bird and I stayed in close, companionable silence for about 20 magical minutes. Then it flashed to the sky and took off on impossibly long wings, framed against the sunset, fading, fading, gone. That's when it occurred to me that perhaps my fellow traveler was a crane. Aren't cranes symbolic of something? Then it came to me. Cranes are a spirit animal, as Native Americans might say, a positive omen, held especially sacred in Japan. In one of those cosmic moments when the soul sighs, ah, I felt the universe coalesce and whisper one of its secrets. The crane, Japan, the anti-nuclear work I've been doing. This was not an accident. This Sunday, March 11th, marks the first anniversary of the Tohoku earthquake and tsunami, and the start of the ongoing nuclear nightmare that is Fukushima. On that day, I'll join with other activists outside the San Onofre nuclear generating station in peaceful protest. I invite you to join me. Among the speakers that day, 2 Fukushima survivors, sharing the truth about the difficulties they face. It's not a pretty picture, nor is it something you will hear in mainstream media. Beyond that demo, I'm in discussion with a minister at Reverend Michael Beckwith's Agape Church about helping put together a program about the ongoing problems in Japan. I have an upcoming conversation with Tim Dang, the producing artistic director of the LA-based East West Players, about how his Asian-oriented theater might incorporate programming dealing with Fukushima. I continue to produce and host the weekly Nuclear Hot Seat podcast. I helped to write and then recorded public service announcements for Physicians for Social Responsibility. I've started doing talks at local civic groups. In other words, I'm doing what I can, when I can, and always it feels like it's not enough. At times, I speak directly to God, Spirit, Universe, fill in the blank, and ask for a sign that I'm doing the right thing, that I need to keep going. I did that just the other day in a moment of despair, then released the thought and forgot all about it, until I saw the crane and made the connection to Japan. In that moment of cosmic alignment, I felt peace and love and blessing wash over me. The magic lingered as a sweetness in my heart. I stayed by the creek for as long as I could, well into dusk, before I reluctantly left the scene of my little miracle. Back home, I Googled crane, Japan, symbolic meaning, and found this. Cranes are an expression of sympathy, a symbol of happiness, good fortune, and longevity. 1,000 cranes are a prayer for peace and blessing, healing and hope during challenging times. A prayer often spoken through the ages by mothers seeking the protection of cranes has been, "O flock of heavenly cranes, cover my child with your wings." The children of Fukushima are being sacrificed to the greed, incompetence, and lies of the Japanese government, Tokyo Electric Power Company, and those who support the international commercial nuclear industry. Children have not been and are not being evacuated from the radiation zone. Schools and playgrounds are contaminated with radiation. Rice, deemed too radioactive to be safely sold in the marketplace, is bought up by the government to subsidize farmers, and then provided as part of school lunches. Mothers who pack safer lunches and try to protect their children from radiation are ridiculed, their children bullied. There is much more, and much worse. Already, a third of more than 3,000 children tested in Fukushima are showing nodules on their thyroid glands. No one is yet calling the lumps tumors. These are still the early days when those who can believe the lies do so, because they need to hold on to normalcy, even if it's all pretend. We will not know for generations the true impact of this horrific nuclear accident on a people, a place, and the rest of the earth, including us. But it already looks like genocide is being conducted by the Japanese government against its most vulnerable citizens. They are destroying lives in order to save face, or profits. There are those of us who already grieve and mourn: the parents of Fukushima, the children of Japan, the worldwide network of anti-nuclear activists who struggle to be heard over the billions of dollars spent on PR and politicians to drown out our voices. We know the truth. We know the danger. We are fighting for the future of the earth and all its life forms. We go on fighting, struggling despite depleted hope, ebbing energy, failing heart, a lifetime of accumulated bruises, as the nuclear perpetrators seem to get their way over and over again. But then, there comes a crane. A single emissary of hope, but behind it, just beyond the seeing, I believe there are 999 more. And more than that, enough for us all. O flock of heavenly cranes, cover my child with your wings. Each of us is that child. Each of us needs protective wings. I wish you many cranes.